For more than 300 years, the great powers of Europe were locked in this relentless, high stakes game. And we're not just talking about planting flags on maps. No, this was a ruthless competition for wealth, for power, and for bragging rights. And it ended up reshaping the entire globe, giving rise to the first truly global empires.
And that gets us to the big question for this whole explainer. How on earth did a fight over something like spices, cinnamon, pepper, things that were literally worth their weight in gold back then, how did that spark centuries of war, piracy, and eventually the world's very first global conflict? Well, it's a story all about ambition, new technology, and some seriously fierce competition.
So, what lit the fuse? Honestly, it was one thing: money. See, for ages, all the good stuff from the East, spices, silks, had to travel overland, and every single person who touched it along the way took a cut. European rulers and merchants looked at that and saw a massive opportunity. What if they could find a direct sea route? They could cut out all the middlemen and keep the profits for themselves. And just like that, the race was on. Right out of the gate, two nations jumped way ahead of everyone else: Portugal and Spain. But here's the really cool part. They didn't just try to outdo each other with the same plan. Oh no, they built their empires based on two totally different ideas. One decided to own the seas, and the other decided to conquer the land. Okay, so this slide breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you've got Portugal's trade post empire. Think of it like a string of pearls across the ocean. They weren't trying to control huge chunks of land. They just wanted to control the most important port cities, like Goa and Malacca. That gave them a stranglehold on the whole spice trade. Then you have Spain. Theirs was a strategy of territorial conquest. They sent conquistadors to just take over huge empires in the Americas, all with one goal in mind: dig up and ship out as many resources as possible. So you have to wonder, right? How did just a few hundred Spanish soldiers take down empires with millions of people? Well, the answer is chilling, really. They had a secret weapon, their deadliest ally, and it was completely invisible: disease. Smallpox, measles, influenza. These were diseases that the people in the Americas had zero immunity to. And the result was just catastrophic. In some places, up to 90% of the population died. It completely shattered any chance of organized resistance. And with that conquest came a flood of wealth. I mean, an absolute tidal wave. Just look at this number. It's staggering. In the 1500s alone, Spain pulled over 16,000 metric tons of silver out of mines like the infamous Potosi. This incredible fortune basically bankrolled Spain's armies, made it the top dog in Europe, and kept its imperial machine running for generations. But, a two-country party this good was bound to get crashed. As the 1600s rolled around, other big players in Europe, like France, England, and the Netherlands, were looking at all this wealth pouring into Spain and Portugal, and they were getting jealous. They wanted in. They wanted their piece of the pie. And the world stage was about to get a lot more crowded. All right, so this table lays out the new players and their game plans really nicely. Each one had its own unique style. Take France. They didn't have a huge population to send overseas, so they got smart. They focused on the super profitable fur trade in North America, which meant they had to build strong alliances with indigenous peoples. Then you've got the Dutch, a nation of merchants, right? They built a powerful business-focused empire to go head-to-head with Portugal over the spice trade. And England? Well, they had a different problem: too many people at home. So they went with a settler model, sending people to start colonies on the North American coast and grow cash crops like tobacco. So with all these powers now scrambling for the same territories and the same trade routes, it was only a matter of time before things turned violent. The old days of small scuffles between trading ships were over. We were moving into an age of full-blown global conflict. It's funny, they actually tried to stop this from happening. The Treaty of Tordesillas is a perfect example. We're talking 1494. The Pope literally takes a map of the world, draws a line down the middle, and says, okay, everything to the west is for Spain, everything to the east is for Portugal. It was a bold move to try and keep the peace, but it had one massive flaw. It completely ignored the fact that other countries were about to join the game. And this timeline, wow, it just shows you how things spiraled out of control step by step. It starts with wars in Europe that were really about who would control the colonies. Then you get these really murky deals like the Asiento. This was basically a hugely profitable contract for Britain to supply enslaved Africans to the Spanish colonies. Talk about commerce and conflict getting tangled up. And it all leads to this, the 7 Years' War. And this wasn't just a European squabble anymore. This was the first war fought on a truly global scale in the forests of America, on the seas of the Caribbean, and on the plains of India.
So, what's the bottom line here? It's that this centuries-long rivalry wasn't just some old story from a history book. It fundamentally forged the world we live in today, often in ways we don't even see.
For starters, this competition is what kicked off the globalization of trade, dragging the world's economic center over to the Atlantic. It caused these massive, massive shifts in populations, from the diseases that wiped out indigenous peoples to the horrifying growth of the transatlantic slave trade. It laid the groundwork for modern politics, with its messy web of treaties and global alliances. And maybe most critically, it set up economic systems of extraction that have left a legacy of global inequality that we are still grappling with right now.
And that leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? This intense 400-year rivalry built a whole new world order based on a global fight for resources and influence. When you look at the world today, you have to ask yourself, has the game really changed all that much? Or is it just the players and the name of the game that are different?